All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome. I'm Stacy Niblo, your Gale trainer for Maine. Thanks for joining us for our car care using Chilton Library. Comes to you through the Maine Digital Library. And I'm joined today by Beth Christ from the State Library. But Beth, do you want to say hello?
Sure. Good morning. Thanks for joining us today. And we hope you find this useful. This is a great topic for your patrons this summer. Car care should be a high interest database. So it seems like a good time to go forth and promote this and train your own patrons on how to use it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Stacy, for being here today.
Yeah. Oh, happy to do it. So it's a pretty brief agenda. We just want to let you get to know Chilton Library. As we go through, though, feel free to ask questions, give feedback. The chat and the Q&A are both open, so jump in anytime. We've got a comfortable amount of time for this resource. If you attended our earlier one, we did run a little over, but with just one resource to cover here, I think we'll be in good shape. We'll wrap up with outreach tools and support. So give you some ready to go materials so you can kind of spread the word about this resource being available to your patrons. So let's go ahead and take a look. So as a reminder, you've got a wide variety of resources available through Digital Maine Library, and Gale is, of course, happy to be part of that program. These are the resources you get from us. And a couple others that might jump out at you for this summer. Gale Books and Authors is a great reader's advisory tool to find something great for summer reading. You've got a lot of great content to help with summer slides. So databases like, say, National Geographic Kids can be really fun and engaging at any point in the year. We find our session time in that database is about double that of other databases. It's just got such great name recognition, and of course the content's amazing. So lots of good stuff for from the Gale and Context collection for older students, and then of course the literature database can help folks dive deeper into their summer reading too. So lots of good stuff all over the place, but we do want to focus on Chilton Library. And this is a tome of tomes of content that became very familiar to me when I worked in the public library. The big, paperback Chilton Manuals had a hard time staying on the shelf and staying in good condition. They didn't always come back in the same condition they were returned. So I got very familiar with these when I worked at the reference desk. And then, of course, when I went to work for Gale, I was like, oh, yes, of course, I know these. How great to have it electronically. So really glad to be able to offer these in an e-format that folks can, say, just bring up on their tablet or even their phone and, be out in the driveway changing their oil. But this is kind of the place for do-it-yourself automotive information and repair and maintenance and the like. So it's really a standard in the industry. We've been, not we technically, but Chilton has been around for over 100 years, very well loved resource. So along with, large selection of vehicles. So you'll find the year range in this collection is really wide. We're going to get in there and show it off, but we've got detailed information on most years, makes, and models in this collection. And it's not really just the maintenance and repair content that's here. We have a video library that I'm really excited to show you. It's nothing new. Videos were found in the manuals themselves, but now they've kind of been gathered up into their own places and some new ones were added. There's a labor estimating tool, so you can kind of get an idea if maybe you're not confident enough to do it yourself and you do want to take your car somewhere to get repaired. It can give you an estimate on how long it could take, so it can help plan your budget around it. We've got ASE test prep, which is great for anyone maybe studying to become a mechanic. And it's a very visual database, lots of images, diagrams, photos, and the like as well. So I'm typically more of a text person, but for something like this, where you're repairing something with your hands or, again, just maintenance, changing your oil, things like that, I love the visuals. So the videos and all of the photos and diagrams are especially helpful. So, and of course, that's the kind of thing you expect out of a resource like this too, right? So we want to keep up with what you expect with Chilton's. Now, we did make some updates in the last 6 months or so. I could have those dates a little wrong. It's always been a really easy to use database, but these enhancements, I think, really up that usability. It is I think visually more appealing, just a little more modern looking. I think it's easier to navigate all of the repair models. So the platform has been streamlined. There was a lot more clicking before, where now there's still, clicking. You can move within the table of contents really easily, but a lot of times you had to go back and forth, and they've eliminated that. I love what the table of contents does in terms of what we call the breadcrumb trail. It's kind of easy to see how you got where you are, and can move yourself back a couple steps as needed. So the readability is better. We did some things with the font and in terms of size, and I think even the font choice is a little different from what it used to be. We also have the listen tool, which has been available. I think it was a little harder to find before, or maybe not hard, but just it's a little more prominent now. So you can actually have the text read to you, which is always nice. We added a VIN decoder search, so you can get some specifications, recalls information, safety information, specifically by VIN, which is really handy. And then my favorite new part is the video library. Again, a lot of these are embedded in the actual manuals themselves, but these are kind of the more general ones, and you can browse through them. And I think for me, it's always good to start out visually and then read the text. So I appreciate having these videos up front. I think it's really valuable to have this whole library of that video content. So very handy. And then again, as I mentioned, the ASE test prep, we did a little work there too to make it clearer. You could always take these quizzes and see how you did, but they've done a lot of work to kind of make it clear where maybe you went wrong with your answer, and just give some more visuals around it as well. So, with that, sorry, I thought I had a let's dive in slide. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. So you can, of course, access the resource. A lot of libraries have set these up right on their own home pages, or you can come right to Digital Maine Library and access through here. And on the home page here, we can filter by subject. Just gonna go ahead and grab auto repair. It does nice little call out here, and then brings us right to Chilton Library. Now, were I in Maine, I'd be able to click on this and just land right in the resource. You've got that great geo authentication going up there, so folks don't have to use a library card number or password or anything like that. They can land right in the resource because they're in Maine. However, I am not, so I'm going to go in through another path to get to the resource. And again, let me make things a little bigger here in the browser. So our databases are mobile responsive, and I probably could just say responsive. It don't have to be on a mobile device. It does allow you to use things like Zoom and the like, which I think is always important in a resource, but also particularly one that's as visual as this one. You can zoom in and out really easily. We recognize your screen size, so that if you change your window size, or again, if you're on a phone or a tablet or something like that, it just kind of reacts to the size of your screen. So very handy, again, especially for something you might have, in the garage or driveway with you, and might be using on a different type of device. So really everything, not everything, almost everything hinges in this resource on the vehicle you're working on. So that's kind of the most prominent thing on the homepage, picking the vehicle you want to work with. Before I dive into that, though, I do want to go over kind of these additional tools that are available up top. So just to the upper right in the menu here, we've got some of those tools I mentioned. So let's go ahead and take a look at those first. Rid of the red circle so I can click on these. So the VIN decoder is a quick way. I've got a demo one here to use. And it doesn't give you, of course, kind of owner information or anything like that. Privacy is protected here, but it does give you an overview of the vehicle. I used a tool like this back when I was selling an old car. I kind of forgot all the details about my vehicle. So it's a great way to be able to pull up the specifications and be able to let people know. But of course, you can also see things like the safety details around the car. Where are the airbags in this case? And then, of course, any recalls. So folks, these are always, good to check. Typically, if you need one, you get a letter from the manufacturer, but doesn't always make its way to the right person, right? So if you've bought a used car, this is always something that's good to check on as well. And again, what's great here is privacy is protected. We're not asking for any personal info. A lot of the tools out there that are free online for this type of lookout or looking for that lookup are looking for that kind of info. There's of course none of that involved here in Chilton Library. So quick way to look up your car. I was also interested to see like where, you know, the cars are made. So we just have this demo VIN, but I looked up my own car and saw it was put together in Ohio. So I just think that's interesting to be able to find out. But anyway, VIN decoder really handy and a new tool, something we didn't have before. This was new in our most recent release. So the video library, again, a lot of these are gathered from the manuals themselves, but some are new as well. And it just lets you start out with that video. So some of this, 3 ways to retrieve diagnostic trouble codes. Go into the video.
There are 3 ways to retrieve diagnostic
always
trouble code
enabled.
information on an
You
OBD2
have
equipped vehicle. They are
Really short.
using the
I haven't seen one that's more than
manufacturer's
maybe
scan
4 or
tool,
5 minutes long.
using a generic
Really
scan
nice
tool.
job. It's a pretty standard video player. But if you look to the left, you can kind of browse through these for specific different specific information. So maybe we need to do a little work on our air conditioning system, want to learn a little more about it. We've got tools here. Now, again, these are kind of general for, you know, general purposes. Is it specific to particular cars? We can find more of those as we go into the manuals, but it's a good way to maybe get comfortable before you start doing the work yourself, right? And learn a little bit more about these different systems. And then the ASE test prep quizzes are arranged by the different sections of the exam. And you can see a number of questions here listed first. They're all multiple choice. And again, we've done some work here to kind of enhance the way you work with your results. So again, not asking for any personal info or anything like that. Folks can just take a quick exam and, you know, get an idea of where they're at. I'm just going to go ahead and answer randomly, which of course you wouldn't want to do on the real test, but I want to get to a score so you can see what this looks like. So it prompts you just to make sure you're ready to submit for grading. If you've missed any questions, you get a little reminder, you know, that in this case, I didn't miss any, but if I not attempted 2 or 3, it would be letting me know so I can go back to the questions and get those answered. But I'm gonna go ahead and confirm. And here we are. I get a little randomly selecting your answers doesn't seem to be the way to go. But over on the right, you get a good visual of your score and how well you did. And you get your correct answers when you've answered them incorrectly. So you can kind of check your work and go back over it. So just a bit better display than what we had going before. This kind of keeps you in the same view of the quiz before you went to kind of like a grading sheet. And I prefer this to kind of stay in the same view and see how you did. So again, great spot here to be able to get that little extra confidence as you're going in for any of these exams, or the ASE exam, I should say. All right, so now let's go ahead and take a look at really what the database is built around. All of the, oh, whoops, I clicked on Digital Maine Library's logo, forgive me, instead of the homepage for Chilton Library there. We now, of course, are going to get into the DIY tools. So what we'll also find as we select our car, we'll find bulletins and recalls and things like that. We'll get to labor estimating tools. So some of those additional pieces that are specific to cars pop up here as well, but we'll get to the manuals themselves. And you'll see we do typically have content for cars that are recent. So you can see we've already got some 2024 content in here. The bulk of the content, though, comes from cars that are 5 years or older, because typically that's when they're out of warranty. So you're not going to the dealer anymore for different repairs and, you know, things like that. But so you'll see kind of more content come into those cars as they age, right? So I'm going to go a little further back, you know, say we're looking at a 2008 Ford Explorer. As you select year, then it kind of filters over to the right into make. So we only list makes that we have 2008 vehicles for. You can select from the drop box, or as I'll do here in model, you can start to type and it'll just filter and then show you the cars we have. So we do have the Explorer, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that. And we jump right into, if we have it, the repair manual. And you can see, let me use my little tool here again. These are all the items we have for the 2008 Ford Explorer. So I did choose a car where we had all four pieces here. Not every car will always have all four. That's what we strive for. So as you'll see, we'll look up a few other vehicles so you can kind of see what it looks like. But certainly for the more current vehicles that we want all four. But we'll go back and look at some of the really older ones and you'll see some of that content's not going to be available. And again, for some of the newer ones as well. So again, the most recent ones. Anyway, the repair manual, kind of the main thing. That's what I think about what, those big, thick paperbacks, right? So we're going to start there. And basically, we've built a table of contents similar to what you would have found in the book. So kind of the different areas of the vehicle. And as you move through these, you'll see it just kind of opens up. And this is where we get into that breadcrumb trail I mentioned before. So as you click and on the little arrows to open up and drill down, you can easily kind of see how you got where you are. We actually even built in a breadcrumb trail just above the kind of manual section. You can see, I started at home, fuel system, fuel filter. I can kind of easily jump back if I want to browse back to the fuel system and kind of start from there. Okay. Again, more prominent placement of the listen tool. So folks want to have this read to them. And they do have a rate this article tool, which is really valuable. I would, encourage users to take advantage of that because it does kind of alert Chilton as they see maybe a low rating, they go in and take a look, what needs to be changed here. So the rate this article is really important. I don't want to use it to kind of give false info, but it is something I would encourage folks to provide their feedback on. The instructions, again, we did a little work here with the font. It's a bit bigger than it used to be. I think we're using a slightly different one. And again, lots of images, photos, diagrams, and so on. They typically start out in the thumbnail view. We would call this kind of its smallest version, but you can click to enlarge. And then most of these are PDFs. So you're always going to have the option to zoom in and out, which is really handy. And then, of course, we have our instructions here. So kind of simply follow those and remove or install our fuel filter. You can also search within the table of contents, and you can try things like just typing in a little bit. So for oil, and what it will do is then show you kind of all the different areas of the table of contents where that appears. And depending on the manuals, some say change if you're, say, looking for an oil change, some may say replace or something like that. So the verbiage can be a little different between the manuals, but I think just kind of starting and seeing what it starts filtering to as you type is a good way to kind of dive in. And then I can see not quite fully in the table of contents here. So this is for a 4.6 liter engine, the one's for 4.0. If I wanted to see more, again, you've always got that breadcrumb trail, so you can go back and you kind of see the full title basically of that chapter from the table of contents. So if I needed to differentiate, the 4.0 and the 4.6 might give me everything I need, but regardless, you can always use that breadcrumb trail to kind of go back a little bit and then move forward. And so here again, we've got photos, the type of tools we'll need. You'll often find that they call out in notes and caution. These are color coded now. So things to kind of help give you that visual indicator. Oh, I need to pay attention to this. So that caution is lit up in yellow. Makes sense, right? You'll find too that the entries are linked between one another. So here it's talking about raising the vehicle. So it links to its section on lifting, jacking, and hoisting, right? So we can easily kind of get to those different things that we might need within the work. So, and again, here we go with a warning in red. So again, you get those visual cues to kind of have jump out at you. So lots of warning about, of course, lifting a vehicle, right? So the manuals pretty much, or the repair, I should say, pretty much lay out the same way with this table of contents format, the breadcrumb trail, all of that. So as you move between vehicles, it's really easy to kind of get comfortable with what's here. As we kind of look at the other pieces that are available, maintenance is going to give you your maintenance schedules. I'm just going to go ahead and grab a few different things here and we'll filter. There we go. See where we're at. I always like to check this against what maybe the dealer tells me as I'm doing maintenance on my vehicle. So I think it's very handy. But also, again, you've bought a new car, or sorry, you bought a used car from someone, you need to replace, the manual has gone the way of the dodo bird, and here you've got, that information laid out for you nicely. And again, I think a big advantage here is a lot of times when you're doing automotive research online, they always want you to hand over your email address before they give you information so they can market to you, right? So there's none of that going on. Folks don't have to worry about ads. It's all just really easy to take advantage of the content here without getting bogged down and all that other stuff that often comes with being online, right? So lots of good stuff. The labor estimating tool is again going to give you an idea. Of course, it can't tell you a cost because it depends on, what shop you go to, but it can give you the timing that they think will take to repair something. So again, kind of like the repair manual, you can search or you can open up the different sections here. So maybe to do something with the door lock remote, how long would it take from the dealer versus Chilton time, which would be just maybe another, repair shop. So often the dealer, maybe they have the specific tools and things like that make things move a little faster. So that's often a little bit shorter, but gives you an idea. So what is the hourly rate at the dealer or the repair shop? And then you have an idea, all right, well, this could take a little over an hour, maybe a little less if I go to the dealer. But you get an idea and can estimate that cost, at least in terms of labor, right? Parts and all of that are going to be specific to where you're going to, but this can at least give you an idea on that labor cost. And then lastly here, the bulletins and recalls. And of course, we could get that with the VIN search as well, but we just tie that to the vehicles themselves, and you can filter these. So specific systems or symptoms, and you can search. And of course, all the technical service bulletins have a code that go along with them, should you know those. So probably something maybe for professionals, but it's there if they need it. And these are all available in PDF, of course, but you'll notice we've added the listen button here too, so it can read that PDF to you, because once you open up the PDF, you kind of get whatever tools your browser or your Acrobat Reader will give you. So we put the listen here back with the list. So that's what we strive for each vehicle: the repair, maintenance, labor estimating, and bulletins and recalls. Not all of them are going to have those though. So let me go ahead and show you what it looks like. Basically, it's very similar. We just don't see those lists. So we don't ever want to kind of show you something that you would click on and get nothing from. So those should filter correctly. I'm going to go back, say we want to grab a 1955 Chevy something. Let me just grab a random one here. Corvette, there we go. So maybe we're restoring something, right? So in this case, we have the repair manual, we have bulletins and recalls, but no labor estimating, sorry. Oh, maintenance schedule. There we go. That's what we're missing here, but we've got the two others, right? So again, just don't want to show you something that you would click and get nothing for, so they just don't display. Okay. Let me jump back to the vehicle search list. You can see I was going, back to the 1950s, but let me actually get to the bottom of this list so you can see. So all the way back to 1901, there's content here. So again, what's great about these lists is they filter as you select a year. So for 1901, we've got Mercedes-Benz and Oldsmobiles. And then as we select, we can see what models we've got. So it's, you've got this kind of historic content a bit too, which can be kind of interesting for car buffs, but in this case, it's really just a technical service bulletin. So maybe not exactly what we were after. But I did want to show you kind of how far back all of these go, because if you've got gatherings of like cruise nights and things like that in your town or surrounding areas, this is a great resource for those folks to know about, right? So let's talk a little bit about the materials we have for you that you can thread and do some outreach around. So our support.gale.com/main site is going to offer lots of ready to go materials. We of course have training content, so folks can get comfortable with how to use the resource. And again, I think Chilton is probably one of our easiest resources to use, but We've got end user tutorials, tip sheets, things like that to help folks get started and kind of navigate through. Again, it always seems very easy to me, but of course I work for Gail. I'm in the resource all the time. So I'm not a good maybe assessor of that. You know, when someone goes into it without using it before, that's who we've written the tutorial for, so they can easily navigate. We've got other tools though too. Again, I mentioned maybe going to cruise nights and passing out content. We've got postcards kind of specifically for that. You can often, these are customizable, so you can put your library's website or Digital Maine Library or something on there, your library's logo, so they know where to find this resource. Social media posts are ready to go. You can put, we've got images, we have sample text. You, again, don't have to recreate the wheel, right? It's hard to look at a blank piece of paper and know where to start. We've got a lot of content to get you started. So visit our support site and there's tons of stuff there for Chilton. We have in the US, we have 2 months. April is National Car Care Month and October is Fall Care Month. So switching it up for the fall. Those are great times to promote these resources as well and let folks know that they're available, right? And maybe with anything else that could be happening at the library. So definitely take advantage of our support tools. Right. And then lastly, when you've got questions, we want you to know where to go, right? If you have, feedback for us, we want that as well. It's always great to hear what's happening in libraries with these resources. So feel free to share that. I'm your trainer for Maine, so do feel free to reach out and let me know something. I'm a librarian too, so if I don't have the answer, I do know where to go to get it. Again, our product managers love to hear how these are going, so I can always share that info. Another good person to get to know at Gale, though, is your customer success manager. They are the team that really helps you be successful with this resources. They do a lot of one-on-one work with library staff, getting them comfortable with the resources, sharing ideas for promotion. They are really an invaluable source. And I think it'd be Kevin Teller, who you'd work with for all of our public libraries in Maine. We'd have someone different for, say, K-12, for academic. Because we want them to, they get comfortable with those types of libraries and have great success stories to share and ideas. So it's nice that it's specialized like that. And of course, Kevin would be familiar with Maine and know what comes with the Digital Maine Library. So you're kind of halfway there when you talk to Kevin. So if you reach out to this email address, it would get routed to him and he can help you with whatever you need. You can always, of course, keep up to date with what's happening with Gale. We did do some blog posts and social media posts around the updated release of Chilton. So that's always a good way to find product updates. And when you leave the session today, you'll be prompted to take part in our training survey. And we'd love to know what you thought of the training, if there are other ideas for sessions you'd like to have. But also feel free to share product feedback there or any other ideas. We've got kind of an empty space for you to fill that in and we'll make sure it gets to the right place. So I'd love it if you could take a minute to take a look at that. So with that, I will say thank you. Keep an eye out. This summer, we are doing some of our standard calendar sessions. It's a little quieter because folks don't always attend as often, or I shouldn't say just attend, but even register for sessions in the summer. So it's a slightly lighter schedule than we'll have in the fall. And then we might be doing some Maine specific things in the fall as well. So keep an eye out though, if you want to brush up on some skills this summer. We do have some live sessions going on. And of course, you can always get to all of the recorded sessions from this page too. So lots of great training materials if you want to brush up on your skills with your Gale resources. So that's really everything I wanted to share. I am just going to take a quick look at the chat, see if there's anything I might have missed. And Beth, feel free to kind of jump in here if you want to add anything.
I was going to thank you for a great session. We appreciate it. And we do hope this will be a really useful resource for your patrons this summer and beyond, of course. Very informative. And this is free for your library to use. So promote it out to your patrons and feel free to do some training with your patrons on how to use this amazing resource. Thanks, Stacy.
Absolutely. Thanks, Beth. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. I am going to keep things open and interactive here for a minute, see if anything should come in through the chat and the Q&A, but thanks again for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day.